Hey, how's it going, everyone? Thank you so much for stopping on by again. Today, we're gonna go ahead and do something really exciting. I went ahead and spent in a whole day, all my Saturday, I spent rewatching Singles Infernal Season 2, and I found a lot of things I missed the first time because I went in with the mindset that I'm gonna go ahead and scour every single scene to make sure I don't miss anything because that's how obsessed I am sometimes about stuff like that. So, but like, look at this, like, guys. I have a little stain on my sweater. Oh no. So I'm gonna have to scour that out later. But I went ahead and watched every single scene again, probably for the fourth or fifth time. But this time I really spent a lot of time just examining everything, making sure if I can connect all the dots accurately. Because I think we make a lot of assumptions when we watched, the entire season just one time, and we kind of miss a lot of things. So I went ahead and found a bunch of Easter eggs for you guys, which I'm going to go ahead and talk about in this video. So let's get right to it. And before we do that, if you have the time to just hit that like button if you enjoy the video, and if you enjoy watching me kind of randomly talk about Singles Inferno, please consider subscribing to the channel too. Alright, let's do it, you guys. Alright, now let's go ahead and talk about Hanbin. So Hanbin has a couple of Easter eggs that I found out. The very first one I noticed, for some reason, I don't know what made me remember this, because it was two events that occurred that happened very similarly, but they spanned the entire season. So the fact that I remember something that happened at the very beginning at the very end is kind of crazy. But if you actually watch, one of the first lines Hanbin ever delivers is he comments on how nice the weather was as soon as he got to Inferno.
I'm nervous, but the view is nice.
And then at the very end, the very last line he gives as he saw Se-jun and Young walk away is,
That's true, weather's nice.
so I thought that was really weird. And also an additional one, this one is more like just kind of humorous, I think, on, similar to kind of just who Hanbin is. There was a scene where they were showing three guys working out as they, sometimes do. Youngjae, no, not Youngjae, excuse me, Jongwoo, Dongwoo, and Hanbin were all working out. And then when you see Hanbin doing I forget what the workout's called. I work out too, so I don't remember what it's called. And I actually did this like a couple days ago. It's a thing where you kind of work out your back by raising that dumbbell, but he uses two dumbbells instead of one because I think it wasn't enough. And you kind of see Jong-woo actually was using the heavier dumbbell set, which they couldn't just, typically in a gym, you can probably just like wait for someone to finish. But I think the filmers needed a scene where they showed all three of them working out simultaneously. So that's why Hanbin did it. So a little Easter egg that I totally didn't notice until I rewatched it again. Alright, you guys, so now I'm going to talk about Dongwoo, and I gave Dongwoo a very tough time during my last video where I ranked all the members from worst to best. And for this video, I'm going to go ahead and identify two situations where I think we might be able to get into his mind a little bit. You remember when they went to Paradise, him and Sulky, and he was kind of offering her beer, whatever, alcohol, and she was like, no, I don't drink. And then he was kind of like taken surprise a little bit. I think it was because if you recall earlier in that same episode, and this all happened, I think in maybe episode 2, when they were kind of having a walk, and they ended up going somewhere and just having like water or whatever. And then like Park Se-jung mentioned how like she went to Japan, and during that time there she was kind of like in some sort of pool area where they would like have beer just floating around, and you can kind of just drink beer while you're kind of like just chilling. And when she said that, Sulky responded saying how cool that would be to actually do sometime.
It's really good. You can drink beer there as it floats around in the water. That sounds great.
It would be great to go there as a couple.
Right.
So Dongwoo actually even responded to her when she said that, and I think he remembered that for that very night when they finally went to Paradise. So that might explain why he was kind of surprised about Sulky not really wanting to drink when they were in Paradise. And then the second one was that I thought Sulky kind of gave him a hard time the following morning when he was just simply asking her innocently, did you have a good night's sleep? And her response was more like, do you always ask me questions like that? Maybe it's, maybe just something that's not part of her culture. But if you also notice earlier in episode 2, Hanbin actually asked all the girls that as well as they were approaching the kitchen that morning. where he also asked her, hey, you know, how did you guys all sleep? And personally for me, I didn't find any offense if someone asked me that, or I didn't think of it as anything else. Alright, now let's go ahead and talk about Se-jun. So Se-jun is obviously one of the really, really popular guys on the show. Not maybe necessarily for the women on the show, but for all the women that are at home watching. And a lot of the men too, actually. All love Se-jun. So I definitely wanted to find a Se-jun Easter egg for you guys, and I did. And this one is kind of weird because it's not actually a part of the actual show, but it's actually in the theme song. So if you actually watch the theme song of the very first episode, you actually can spot Se-jun because he's already in the show, technically, because he's in the scene where they actually shoot off those fireworks, and you can kind of see him in the background, but it's distinctly Se-jun. If you go ahead and rewatch the fireworks scene, that's definitely him on the far right. So I thought it was kind of cool to kind of see Se-jun in the very first episode and the second episode and the third episode, even though Se-jun didn't officially premiere in the season until episode 6. Alright, you guys, so this one is for all the Nadine fans out there. So there was a scene at the very end of the season in episode 10 where they were all sitting by the bonfire, and they kind of gone around one at a time to all the different people that have kind of, you know, been wondering, you know, hey, you know, what questions you have for me, or, you know, what's your occupation, what's your age, who you in love with. So everything was out in the open by the end. And when they got around to Nadine, she was telling everyone how she was currently studying medicine at Harvard, and everyone was like shocked, which shouldn't be that big of a shock, because if you notice in episode 6, excuse me, in episode 6, there was a scene where they were playing around in the water, and Nadine was wearing a hat that had an H on it, and that H is actually the logo for Harvard University. So a lot of people probably wouldn't have caught that, because a lot of them obviously, you know, are not from America, they're from Korea, so they, you know, how dare they not know the logos of every single Ivy League school in the United States. Some Korean, right? So no one probably caught it in the heat of the moment. This next one actually is not technically a part of the show. It's actually about the theatrical poster that they kind of used to advertise Singles Inferno Season 2. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but I, for some reason, never connected the dots. I thought they were kind of just using random males and females to shoot the posters, but they're actually members of the cast if you actually look closely, and it's very hard to tell because all you're really seeing are like almost silhouettes of them. You can easily identify Hanbin being the 5th guy from the left because he has that little that hip tattoo, right? So you can definitely tell, and it obviously matches his body type. And then going from left to right, I'm just guessing a little bit, but that does look like, starting from left to right, Jong-woo, probably Se-yoon or Min-soo in the second spot, and then Dong-woo, and then Se-jong, and then Hanbin, and I think the very last one obviously looks like Nadine. So I thought that was really cool. And then the bigger Easter egg, in my opinion, is the way that they write the number 2. You kind of notice it looks like sparks, or, you know, since it's in the sky, some people might even call that fireworks. If you remember correctly, you know, in episode 8, they all had a very nice fireworks scene where they all set up fireworks. And a lot of people in this theatrical poster was actually a part of that. Okay, hopefully this one is kind of cool. So Singles Inferno does a really good job of making sure that no one else outside of the main cast is ever seen. So no directors, no camera people, no one cleaning the beach or something is in any of the scenes. But they did slip up a few times. For any of you eagle-eyed folks like me, we were able to spot a few times where they did slip up. I think once I saw a cameraman as he was kind of approaching some sort of very like nice scenic paradise hotel scene, kind of preparing us for what's on the inside. And you can kind of see in the reflection the guy's feet at the very bottom. And then there's another scene where you can kind of make out, you know, a little bit of the pilot that takes off for the helicopter ride from Inferno to Paradise. So that was kind of cool. And then the most prominent one is actually one when Hanbin and Se-yoon went to that weird looking abandoned haunted amusement park. And it's funny because they kept on commenting on how it's so odd that they're all by themselves, but there's obviously a guy right there directing and kind of operating this merry-go-round for them. Okay, so how about Jin-young Easter egg? I know all you guys are really looking forward to that. So there was a scene where he was speaking with Nadine on the beach, if you guys recall. This is the same scene where Min-soo pried her away from Jin-young as well. But while they were, able to kind of talk, the Jin-young mentioned a movie called If Only and asked Nadine if she's seen it, but she said no.
Do you know a film called If Only?
If only?
Yeah.
No.
You don't know the film? It's kind of like, how should I put this? Kind of like a melodramatic film.
Oh, I like melodrama. Romance and melodrama are different.
So the movie, you guys, is a romance about two people, a man and a woman, and they spend a lot of time together, but for some reason the guy keeps on neglecting her at the very start of the movie for work-related things, and she ends up later on getting into a car crash and dying, and then the man kind of goes through this grieving process, but then somehow once the next day comes, he wakes up and then his girlfriend is like still alive in the bed right next to him, and he's reliving the same day over and over again. So the woman played by Jennifer Aniston happens to also be a professional musician on the show, which I thought, in the movie, excuse me, and I thought that was quite a coincidence considering we also have a professional musician on Singles Inferno, and it happens to be Jin-young's main love interest, Sulky. So I don't know where Jin-young was gonna go with that mention of the movie to Nadine, but I thought that was really interesting. Alright, that's it, you guys. So all the Easter eggs I was able to find rewatching every single scene from Singles Inferno Season 2. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please consider dropping a like and comment and subscribe. Let me know which ones, which of the Easter eggs you guys enjoyed the most, and also which ones that you guys found that I missed, because I definitely want to make sure that I know every single little thing about Singles Inferno. So thanks so much for watching, and have a good one. See ya.
태우나요 사랑해줄 것도 아니면서
At least the weather's nice.